What if you could own a home for less than a used car, pay zero council rates, and live completely outside the financial system that is grinding everyone else down? 5 forgotten Australian towns where that is not a fantasy. It is Tuesday. One has houses listed at $30,000. One has a permanent population of 10 people with zero mobile coverage. And one lets you legally mine gemstones from your living room. These places still exist. Here is what they actually look like. Number 5. Silverton, New South Wales. Silverton is the ghost town that refused to die, where the permanent population fits inside a single pub, and Mad Max is less fiction than documentary. Silverton sits about 25 kilometres northwest of Broken Hill and roughly 1,160 kilometres from Sydney. The official population hovers around 50 people. The town falls within the unincorporated Far West region of New South Wales, administered directly by the state government rather than a local council. In practical terms, this means regulatory oversight is minimal and active enforcement is nearly non-existent. Silverton was established in 1883 as a silver mining settlement. Within 2 years, it had 3,000 residents, 18 hotels, 2 newspapers, and a functioning stock exchange. Then the silver ran out. By 1889, most people had relocated to Broken Hill, and Silverton became what it is today, a ghost town with a handful of permanent residents and a second life as a film location. Mad Max 2 was filmed here in 1981, and the landscape has barely changed since. What makes Silverton genuinely unusual is the property market. Houses list from $50,000 to $150,000 for habitable stone cottages with land, including original miners' cottages from the 1880s built from local stone with corrugated iron roofs. These are not renovated heritage properties marketed to wealthy retirees. They are working buildings that have stood for 140 years in one of the harshest climates in Australia, because stone does not particularly care about heat or time. Because there is no local council, there are no council rates. Building approvals exist in theory, but enforcement capacity is essentially non-existent, and many structures have been modified and repurposed over the decades without formal process because there has been nobody to enforce compliance. Most properties on the outskirts operate entirely off-grid using solar, battery storage, and generators. The climate is almost perfectly suited to solar generation. Clear skies for most of the year, and intense, reliable sunlight. Water comes from rainwater tanks and bore water. There is no reticulated supply. Summers regularly exceed 40 degrees Celsius. Winter nights drop below freezing. There is one pub, a small gallery, and a Mad Max museum. No supermarket, no school, no hospital. Emergency care means evacuation to Broken Hill. But for someone who wants property at the price of a used car, zero regulatory interference, and one of the most visually arresting landscapes in the country, Silverton offers something that simply does not exist anywhere near the coast. The freedom here, measured by the absence of oversight, is about as complete as Australia offers. Number 4. Winton, Queensland. Winton is the outback town where Qantas was born, where Waltzing Matilda was written, and where dinosaurs genuinely outnumber the building inspectors. Winton sits in central Western Queensland, approximately 1,330 kilometres northwest of Brisbane and 180 kilometres from Longreach. The Shire covers around 53,520 square kilometres, one of the largest local government areas in Queensland, and the town itself has a population of approximately 950 people. Winton was established in 1875 as a railhead for the wool and cattle industries. Qantas was founded here in 1920. Banjo Paterson wrote Waltzing Matilda here in 1895. More recently, the town reinvented itself as Australia's dinosaur capital, following the discovery of significant fossil sites in the surrounding region. The Australian Age of Dinosaurs Museum now houses the largest collection of Australian dinosaur fossils in the world, and it has become a genuine drawcard that keeps tourism money flowing into an otherwise remote community. Property is affordable by any standard in modern Australia. Houses start from around $100,000 for basic weatherboard or fibro cottages. A 3-bedroom home with land runs from $150,000 to $250,000. For the price of a deposit on an inner-city unit, you can buy a house on acreage in Winton outright, with money left over for solar panels and a rainwater tank system. The Winton Shire Council operates with limited staff across an enormous geographic area. Building approvals are required for new construction, but enforcement capacity is minimal. Inspections are infrequent, and compliance is handled on a complaint basis. In a town of 950 people, where everyone knows everyone, formal complaints are genuinely rare. Water comes from the Great Artesian Basin via reticulated supply, though many rural properties run their own bores and rainwater tanks. Annual rainfall averages around 480 millimetres. Starlink has become widely used among rural residents. The town has a hospital providing emergency care and visiting specialist clinics, schools, supermarkets, and pubs. Winton is not a dying town. It adapted and found new reasons to exist. That is a distinction worth paying attention to when almost every other town on this list is defined by what it lost. Number 3, Corinna, Tasmania. Corinna is not a town in the conventional sense. It is a settlement at the edge of the world, where mobile phones do not work. The permanent population sits at around 10 people, and your nearest neighbour might be a 1,000-year-old Huon pine. Corinna sits on the banks of the Pieman River on the west coast of Tasmania, approximately 215 kilometres from Launceston, at the edge of the Tarkine, the largest tract of temperate rainforest in the southern hemisphere. The area falls under the Waratah Wynyard Council, but practical governance here is effectively non-existent. The council provides no services to the settlement itself. It is reached via 27 kilometres of gravel road, and it was established in the 1870s as a gold rush port. At its peak, around 2,500 people lived here. The gold ran out. The population left. By the 1950s, the settlement was effectively abandoned. It was quietly revived in the 1990s as an ecotourism destination and exists today as a hybrid between a tourist operation and a lived-in community. There is no active real estate market in Corinna itself. Buying here means contacting the existing community and negotiating directly. But nearby West Coast settlements like Zeehan and Trial Harbour have houses available for extremely low prices, with some starting under $50,000. There is no mains power. Electricity comes from diesel generators or solar. No reticulated water. Water comes from the Pieman River and rainwater tanks. No sewage system. No mobile phone coverage whatsoever. The nearest signal is approximately 27 kilometres away. The natural environment is genuinely extraordinary in a way that the word extraordinary does not quite cover. The Tarkine contains trees over 1,000 years old and ecosystems that have remained largely unchanged for millions of years. Tasmanian devils, quolls, platypuses, and echidnas live in the surrounding bush. The coastline is wild and untouched, not picturesque in the postcard sense, but ancient, raw, and overwhelming in a way that experienced travellers find difficult to describe without sounding like they are exaggerating. There are no council rates because there are no services. Food must come from Smithton, over an hour away on unsealed roads. The surrounding area provides fishing, hunting, and foraging. Roads can become impassable in heavy rain, and with over 2,000 millimetres of rainfall per year, heavy rain is not a rare event. Everything rusts, everything rots, everything requires constant maintenance. For someone who genuinely wants to live in one of the wildest places remaining in Australia, where the regulatory apparatus simply does not exist because there is nobody to operate it, Corinna offers something that cannot be replicated on the mainland. Number 2. White Cliffs, New South Wales. White Cliffs is an opal mining outpost where much of the population lives underground. The world's first solar thermal power station for a town grid was built here in 1981, before solar was fashionable, and many homes stay comfortable year-round without consuming a single unit of electricity for heating or cooling. White Cliffs sits in the far northwest of New South Wales, approximately 970 kilometres from Sydney and 100 kilometres east of Wilcannia. The official population is around 200 people. The town falls under the Central Darling Shire Council, which manages 53,492 square kilometres with a total population of about 2,000 people. The nearest council office is 100 kilometres away. Enforcement is minimal in a way that is not a criticism, but simply a mathematical reality. White Cliffs was established in 1889 after the discovery of opal. The fields still produce today, including the rare pineapple opal found only in this region. The property market operates on terms most Australians would find genuinely incomprehensible. Above-ground houses start from around $30,000. Dugout homes carved into the hillsides are available for under $50,000. Mining claims with opal rights and the right to reside on the claim are available for minimal annual fees. The market is largely informal and many transactions are conducted privately. The town has no real estate agents. Because summer temperatures regularly exceed 45 degrees Celsius, a significant portion of the population lives underground in homes hand-carved into soft sandstone. These dugouts maintain a constant temperature of around 22 to 25 degrees year-round. No heating, no cooling. The thermal mass of the Earth itself provides insulation that no above-ground structure can match. Some dugouts are single rooms. Others are elaborate multi-room homes with kitchens, bathrooms, and living areas carved directly into the rock. The regulatory status of dugout construction is genuinely ambiguous. In many cases, no formal building permit is required, provided the structure meets basic safety standards and the council does not have the resources to inspect every dugout. People dig, build, and modify their underground homes with minimal oversight, and have been doing so for over a century. Individuals can register mining claims for around $130 per claim per year. Once registered, the holder has the right to mine the area and to reside on the claim while actively mining. The logic is simple and the outcome is remarkable. Register a claim, dig a dugout, live in it, mine opal. No council rates in the traditional sense. Water is free if you pump it yourself from underground aquifers. The cost of entry is the lowest on this list. There is a small general store and a pub. No supermarket, no school, no hospital. Emergency medical care is provided by the Royal Flying Doctor Service. For someone willing to live in the most self-sufficient sense of that word, White Cliffs offers a complete exit from the financial system that is exhausting everyone else. Number 1. Coober Pedy, South Australia. Coober Pedy is an underground city where approximately 50% of the population lives below the surface of the Earth. The opal capital of the world operates by its own rules, and at least one church is carved entirely into a hillside. Coober Pedy sits approximately 850 kilometres north of Adelaide on the Stuart Highway. The population is around 1,700 people, though exact numbers are difficult to verify because a significant portion lives in unregistered dugouts and mining camps that exist outside formal address systems. The town was established in 1915 following the discovery of opal. The name comes from the Pitchin Chotsera words Coober Pedy, meaning white man's hole in the ground. Today, the town produces approximately 70% of the world's gem-quality opal. The economy runs on opal mining, tourism, and the constant flow of miners and travellers passing through on the Stuart Highway. The property market operates on 2 levels. Above-ground houses start from around $80,000. Underground dugout homes, which make up approximately 50% of the town's housing stock, range from around $150,000 for basic dugouts to over $500,000 for elaborate multi-room residences. These are fully functional modern homes with electricity, plumbing, and internet. They simply happen to be underground. Inside, temperatures stay between 22 and 24 degrees Celsius year-round, regardless of what is happening on the surface. And what happens on the surface in Coober Pedy is extreme. Summer temperatures regularly exceed 45 degrees and have reached over 50 degrees, while winter nights drop below freezing. The thermal properties of the sandstone mean virtually zero energy is consumed for climate control, which in an era of escalating electricity bills is not a minor detail. The regulatory environment around dugout construction is unique in Australia and worth understanding clearly. Dugouts are classified as mining operations rather than conventional buildings, which means they fall under mining regulations rather than building codes. Excavating a dugout does not require a conventional building permit, provided the excavation meets basic safety standards. The District Council has guidelines, but enforcement is minimal, and the council simply does not have the resources to chase people living in unregistered dugouts in the middle of the desert. Individuals can register mining claims for approximately $150 per claim per year. Each claim is typically 50 by 50 metres. Once registered, the holder has the right to mine the area and to reside on the claim while actively mining. Hundreds of people live in dugouts on mining claims with no formal address, no connection to town services, and no ongoing interaction with the state's regulatory apparatus. They generate their own power with solar panels. They pump their own water from bores. They mine opal for income. The practical freedom this creates is not theoretical. It has been the lived reality of a significant portion of Coober Pedy's population for decades. What distinguishes Coober Pedy from White Cliffs and every other town on this list is that it actually functions as a complete community. There are schools, supermarkets, pubs and restaurants. Coober Pedy Hospital provides emergency care and visiting specialist clinics, with serious cases evacuated to Adelaide by the Royal Flying Doctor Service. The town runs a hybrid renewable energy system combining solar, wind and diesel generation. Over 40 nationalities are represented in the population: descendants of European migrants, Aboriginal Australians, and a constant stream of people from around the world who arrived for various reasons and stayed. The heat is extreme. The landscape is barren in a way that takes time to appreciate. But for someone who wants an underground home, the ability to mine for gemstones from their own property, a genuinely self-sufficient off-grid existence, and freedom from the financial and regulatory structures of coastal Australia, Coober Pedy offers something that cannot be found anywhere else in this country. The cost of entry is moderate, the lifestyle is genuinely extraordinary, and the freedom, measured by the absence of oversight and the presence of real opportunity, is unmatched. 5 towns. 5 completely different ways to exist outside the system that is making housing unaffordable for almost everyone else. None of them are easy. All of them are real. And every one of them is sitting there right now waiting for people willing to look past the postcode and ask what they are actually buying. Not just the structure, but the freedom that comes with it. The choice, as it has always been in this country, is yours.